grab the...
Thank you very much, Ryan. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me too much? I almost feel like I can hear myself too much, but if you're okay with that, then we'll proceed. I too would like to add my word of thanks to John Dalton, Andy Mock, Mary Coburn, and Art Chickering, and all the others who have worked so hard to make this conference such a delight. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be back. For the last 2 decades, the Institute on College Student Values has been a wonderful place to come and have thoughtful dialogue around topics such as character and community, civic virtues, caring, spirituality in higher education. I've very much enjoyed my time in the past being a part of this dialogue, and even those years when I couldn't make it physically, being a part of the dialogue via the web and the Journal of College and Character. Now, there have been quite a few notable speakers over the last 20 years. And in 1993, one of the special speakers that year, 16 years ago, was a man by the name of Ernest L. Boyer. Now, does this name ring a bell here among these circles still? Okay, very good. So you will know that Ernest Boyer was the chancellor of the State University of New York system for many years, when he was then tapped by President Jimmy Carter to become the U.S. Commissioner of Education, then the highest education post in the country. In the last 15 years of his life, he was the president of the Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching, where he undertook massive research projects in education, published reports, and created initiatives at all levels of education, working both in the United States and around the world. Ernie Boyer's talk in 1993 was about community, which I think has a lot of resonance with positive psychology, and I'll actually turn back to that topic later on in my talk. For now, I just want to mention one personal note from Ernie Boyer's talk. Towards the end of his speech, he said, "The most influential person in my life was my grandfather Boyer, who lived to be 100. At 40, he moved his family to inner city Dayton, Ohio, and for 40 years he ran a little city mission. I was a child and didn't listen much to what he said in his sermons, but I saw the connections he made with other people. That intergenerational bond in my own life taught me many values, including, perhaps most important, the value of serving others. I learned my own heritage growing up with 3 generations vitally interacting." Now, I just so happen to have a picture tonight of those 3 generations vitally interacting. Ernie is standing to the left. This picture was taken at a family reunion in 1971. His father, Clarence, is to the right, and his grandfather, Boyer, seated in the wheelchair at just about 100 years of age. Now, I should tell you that there was also a 4th generation vitally interacting that day, and I know because I was among them. Grandfather Boyer was also my mother's grandfather. She and Ernie were cousins. And so here's a picture of me with my siblings vitally interacting with our great-grandfather. So here I am, the 4-year-old at the front left. And if you look at the concerned faces on my siblings, I'm not sure whether they're more concerned for their infant brother or for the 100-year-old who's holding him. And my expression indicates either I'm completely clueless as to what's going on, or maybe that I have a future in positive psychology. My earliest memory of Cousin Ernie actually comes from that day. And it was a day on which he took time out of his incredibly busy schedule to travel to Ohio to be with extended family at a family reunion. A few years before he came here to give his talk in 1993, I was heading off to graduate school. And I wondered if he might be willing to write me a letter of recommendation. And again, I can only imagine how busy he must have been, how many people must have asked him for letters of recommendation. But he wrote me a letter. And I was subsequently sent a copy of that. And you can imagine that's a very prized possession that I have to this day. Ernie Boyer was a man who didn't just research community. He didn't just talk about it and write about it. He lived it. He created community everywhere he went, with colleagues, with friends, and with family. And so I'd like to dedicate my talk tonight to Ernie Boyer in gratitude and in hope. In gratitude for the many positive ways in which he affected my life personally, and also for the great legacy of theory and research and application that he's left in education, that he's left for all of us. And in hope, because I'd like to think that if Ernie were with us tonight, he would welcome positive psychology and strengths-based approaches to education as continuations of the educational ideals for which he worked so hard for his entire lifetime. Tonight I'd like to talk with you about three basic areas. First, we'll start with a little bit of the philosophical underpinnings of positive psychology, and then we'll move to a very quick scientific overview of the field. And then finally, we'll talk about some suggestions of higher ed applications of positive psychology. Now, Ryan mentioned that I'm a philosopher by training. This means that most days I spend in an armchair trying as best I can to prove my own existence. On good days, I try to prove the existence of others. You know what? Let me stop right here and clarify something for you. There are no good jokes in this presentation. Don't wait for them. Don't wait for them because you'll be disappointed. If anything seems laughable, go for it. Just jump right in. It's a positive psychology thing. It's okay. So in any case, I do a little bit of empirical research, but mostly they don't let me near the research participants. So what I have to do is content myself with thought experiments. I wonder if you would be willing to conduct a thought experiment with me tonight. You guys up for that? Yeah. Yeah? Okay, very good. Here's the thought experiment. A genie appears to you and points out that you're an amazing human being. So why is Genie? You've so impressed her that she's decided to transform you into a superhero. But now you have a decision to make. What color would you like your cape to be? Now this is a very, very serious option. We know that Spider-Man in black is not a good idea, right? So you have to have the superhero has to have the right color cape. You have two choices. First of all, you can choose a red cape. And if you choose a red cape, you will have the power to fight against the things that we don't like in our world, against bad things, like starvation, violence, injustice, and so forth. So you can choose the red cape. Or, if you would like, you can choose the green cape. And if you choose the green cape, you will have the power to grow good things, the things that we do want more of in our world, things like harmony and understanding and justice. The genie's waiting. You have to choose red or green. So, how many of you would say, give me the red cape? I want the red cape. Raise your hands high. It's fine. You can, not a problem. You can be authentic. Very good. How many of you would say, I want the green cape? All right. Red cape people, we got some work to do. Why red cape? Why would it be a good idea in this option to select the red cape? Who's got a reason that you'd be willing to share with us?
They operate on a conflict model.
Operate on, okay, and I mean, say more about that.
Well, they understand that social relationships are primarily relationships that revolve around conflict and tussling and argumentation, and that's the way organizations develop.
So if you're going to do any good in the world, you darn well better get into the conflicts and do something about them, right? Very good.
Stop suffering.
You know, I mean, it's easy for us to sit here in this grand ballroom at a wonderful hotel after a very nice meal and before a very nice reception and talk about, you know, well, it's a very wholly different thing to be in a situation where there's actual real pain and suffering going on. How dare you talk about, you know, green cape things and growing good things when there's real tragedy in the world, when people are dying, people are starving, and so forth. So the urgency of the problems in our world today make it that any morally responsible person must choose the red cape. Could be one argument. All right? Other thoughts?